I was smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day.
Damn.
I only drank soda or alcohol. I only ate fast food. I got to a point where I was very, very depressed, suicidal. I knew that I needed to make a change.
Yeah.
And then when we started watching The Ultimate Fighter, there were guys on that show that had similar backgrounds and stories to us.
Yeah.
You know, we were like, I can relate with this guy. I saw the first outlet of like, maybe fighting is what's gonna get me out of Las Vegas and out of depression. Every fight that I've had, like it all builds up to this.
Yeah.
Not long ago.
Yeah. Not long ago at all.
I was not this person.
Oh, it's 15-time world champion Demetrious Johnson. You're listening to the MightyCast.
What's going on, boys? This podcast is sponsored by Prizepicks. Now, Prizepicks is a daily fantasy sports game where you make picks amongst multiple sports. They got the NFL, MLB, mixed martial arts, and even video games like CSGO and Valorant. It's very simple, easy to play. If you think this gentleman is going to land significant strikes, you will go with more. Or if you think the opponent he's fighting has very, very good defense, good footwork, moving around, good feints, and fading the punches, you will go with less. All you gotta do is go to your app store on your phone, download Prizepicks, and when you do that, make sure you use my promo code MightyCast. They have a cool promotion going on right now. Play $5 and you're gonna win $50 no matter what happens in the picks you make. Shout out to Prizepicks for sponsoring this podcast. Now, let's get to our guest, Khalil Rountree. Enjoy.
Rolling?
Yeah, we're rolling.
Yep, 307.
Okay. Cell phone's off. All right, here we go.
Cell phone's off.
It's Khalil.
Yes.
Right, so make sure I get it right.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Well, shit, here we are now. Brother, thank you so much for giving me the time. It's kind of crazy how we bumped into each other.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I've seen your fights before on the UFC. It's obviously it's the highlights, right? The last biggest ones where you walked on homeboy, Anthony Smith, I believe his name was.
Yeah.
Walked over him and you about to kill him and they stop you. It feels like each time you finish somebody, it's almost like, you lucky motherfucker. I was just about to get in your ass like Pinky from next Friday.
Yeah, there is an element of that. Yeah, I think it's just a matter of like I have to catch my emotions at the very end. You know what I mean? Because it is very like instinct. Like it's instinct for me.
Yep.
Those finishes aren't things that I train. It's just like it just comes out, and I'm like, okay.
So your emotion was like, oh.
Yeah.
My bad.
Like,
Hey,
trust me, everything I wanted to like, bring down the thunder and
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
okay, I'll let it go. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's usually like that.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of the MightyCast. We are joined here by the next title challenger at UFC 307, Khalil Rountree. Brother, thank you so much for joining the podcast.
Hell yeah.
Now let's talk about the beginning because, that's when I first caught notice of you. Then I did a little research, but I don't like to do a lot of research on my guests because I want to hear their story from their mouth, right? And so I know you came up in Ultimate Fighter, and full disclosure, I thought this man was an American. I thought he was fucking Australian because he has a very soft tone to his voice, and it's like an accent weaving in through an American. He goes, "Nah, dog, I'm 100% American."
100%. Yeah. I mean, I always get that. Like, yeah, I have like kind of like a softer tone, but I never heard the accent. I think you're the first person that told me like you have an accent. I'm like, no, man.
I think it's because my dad, he's English, but he has an American accent, but he also has English tendencies in there.
Got it.
So when you spend a lot of time with him, it's like, man, are you American or are you I'm confused. And he goes, I get that all the time, son. Lovely. And I'm like, Englishman, right? So when I met you, and I was like, wow, it's very soft tone. And I was like, God, he's from somewhere. And I was sitting there talking to everybody. I'm like, guys, this motherfucker ain't from here. He's not. I'm telling you now. And then come to find out you were born and raised in California?
I was born in LA.
Okay.
And then I moved to Vegas in 95.
Okay.
So from 5 years old all the way up till now, Vegas has been home.
Okay. Now, Vegas has been home. Now, you coming up, did you do any sports? Because your physique looks like you need to be in the motherfucking NFL, like a running back.
I wish. No, man. So in school, like growing up here, I didn't play any sports. I mean, my mom put me in, like Little League baseball, just to keep me busy. I played that maybe 1 or 2 years, but nothing serious. I didn't take it too far.
Yep.
And then as a joke in high school, my friends were like, oh, try out for the volleyball team. And so like I tried out for the volleyball team and made it, but I never played.
So you fucking made the team. You're like, Khalil, you're going to be our fucking center. You're like, nah, I'm all good, man.
I think it was like a pity thing. I think the coach was like, oh, yeah, let's give this guy a shot, but I never played. So, sports weren't ever really my thing. I didn't really have the courage, like I grew up in Vegas. I had 2 older brothers that were star athletes, football, basketball, everyone knew who they were. But when it came to me playing sports, I just didn't have it in me. Like my dad, I lost my dad at a very young age, 2 years old. So I didn't have that like encouragement. And my brothers, they're only 5 and 8 years older than me. So they didn't really have the influence to
be behind you.
You know what I mean? They were just like my older brothers. So I didn't know. I was like, nah, football looks cool, but I don't know how to do it. How am I going to go? How am I going to go to a practice? And, I was shy, so I didn't really like get along with teams. And so I just like shut myself down.
Really?
Learn how to play music. And then that was kind of like my outlet.
So you didn't do any sports in high school? Just besides trying
Only
out for volleyball team?
Yeah, like trying out for volleyball, yeah.
That is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
I would at least thought you wrestled, played football, maybe a little basketball, because your physique, like you're pretty built. Usually people who, because how old are you?
34.
You're 34, right? So being 34, being at that physique, you would think you've done something in middle school or high school, from my perception of like being around a lot of athletes, growing up, especially at the highest level of mixed martial arts. You have to have some type of form of background. But what you're telling me, you didn't play any sports, you reverted to music. Yeah. And what instrument did you end up playing? Or learning how to play?
I started with drums at like 8 years old. And then from drums, I went to guitar to keyboard to like bass guitar. And then I just kept building a collection. And it's hot in Vegas. So like I would just lock myself in my room and like learn how to play by ear. So I'd listen to my favorite songs on repeat and then just like play. And that was my thing. Like that was like my outlet, that was my fixation. This was around the time of like the spawn of like video games, and the internet was like just becoming a thing, AOL. So I got to kind of grow up in that age of like
the best age,
like the beginning of the internet, LimeWire. Like, so I download music and like
you got mail. It's like, fuck, I always got mail when I come in this bitch.
So it kind of saved me because Vegas is so hot. I didn't want to go outside, didn't want to play sports. So I started to like explore the internet and explore more music and different cultures and things like that.
Wow. Now, when you say you didn't have the courage to do any sports, was because I have 3 children. My oldest is, he's one of the loudest. My middle is very soft. He's very chill. He's very reserved. And then I have my daughter. She's also very loud. And you're saying you grew up in a house of 2 brothers, and it's yourself. Did you not have the courage because they were, star athletes, and you're like, fuck, I can never live up to what they're being able to achieve? Or was it like, what, I'm gonna let you guys do your thing. I'm here to support you guys. And for you to be at a young age to think that you didn't have the courage, I feel that you were very mature at that age.
Yeah, I think after finding out, so when I told you like my dad passed away when I was 2, so around like 10 or 11 was when my mom actually told me like exactly what happened, and I think so from a very early age, 10, something around there, I started to kind of already form my perception of life. My dad was murdered.
Oh my God.
Unwillingly, like some guys tried to rob him. So I already started kind of like forming my thoughts about the world.
Wow.
And there was like a little bit of fear to that.
Absolutely.
And then because my mom and dad were so close and I was the youngest, my mom nurtured me a bit more.
Gotcha.
So it was never like, go outside. She's always like, you okay? Do you need anything?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've always been like a sensitive kid, sensitive guy still.
Yeah.
So I just my feelings got hurt easily, and that was kind of it. So I just I stayed away from things that I felt like would cause me to like react in an emotional way.
Now, obviously you found out at 11, how did your other brothers take it? Like, were they like, did they become more aware of the perception of life? Because the reason why I ask is my son, he's 11, right? At that age you just said, and he's been coming and talking to me and my wife, like, what's the meaning of life? Like, what's our purpose in life? And I'm like,
you're 11 years old.
You're 11 years old, dog. I was like, I didn't start having that thought process until I was like I think I was 28. I remember I was at a UFC summit and I'm sitting there at one of the, back in the day, they would do UFC. I'm sure you've been to the UFC summit where they're like, oh, you need to save your money, pay your taxes, X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And they'll have guests come out and talk to us. And I was listening to one of the guests and I was writing notes and I was like, man, what's the purpose of life? And I just wrote down in my notebook, it said purpose with a question mark. What is it? And so my son is having that question out at 11 years old. You had that question. You started questioning it after you found out that news. How did your brothers take that?
You know, I think my father's passing and my mom remaining single after that, it really caused my brothers to grow up quickly. They ended up, although they were still in school and still playing sports, they ended up taking more of the provider role. So they were doing whatever they could to bring food and money home.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So they were still trying to live their teenage lives, but realized we got to make money.
Yeah.
Or you know what I mean? We got to do something outside of just going to school and just playing football. So they were always protective over me, but they were figuring it out too. So they didn't really have a lot of experience or advice. They didn't have kids of their own yet, things like that. So it was more just my little brother's protected. My little brother's got, new school clothes.
Yep.
All right. And then they go about learning what it's like to be a man on their own, So yeah, it was interesting. They took it well. They always told me good things about my dad, taking care of them and stuff. Cause we have different dads.
Okay.
But my dad pretty much adopted them.
Gotcha.
When they were young.
Gotcha.
5, 5
absolutely.
and 8 years old. My dad came in, adopted them. You guys are my sons. Raised them for a bit, and then they had me. And then when he passed, it was just kind of
Gotcha. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. It's
good, man.
I like I said, it makes it more for me. Love your story even more to hear that you never played sports in high school. You fell in love with music, and you had that perception of life, what's the purpose of life at 11 years old. Now we can see when you fight, you're you had that emotional side come out in you, right? Yeah. So let's go back to the music. That's very, so do you still play to this day?
There were times in the past couple of years where I really got the bug to start making music again.
No, not making music, but do you still play?
Just play.
Well, when you're at the house,
I always keep a guitar in the house, just when I get the bug and want to pick it up and play. My favorite thing to do when it comes to music is I have different machines, beat making machines, things like that. So I can just upload samples, chop songs that I like, add my own drums, things like that. So that's the extent of the music that I do now. Yeah.
Can you sing?
Not anymore.
Nah,
when I was younger, I could hit a few notes, but I don't know what it is now. I can't hit a note to save my life.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're at home, you were just baby, can you play me can you play me something? You're hey, baby, let me take my shirt off and I'll play for you.
Nah, when I was younger, I'd say I probably started losing my singing abilities around 21.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think you get it back if you trained it?
Yeah, but I don't want to train it.
Why not?
I don't know, man.
Come on, dog. You can sing. You can sing when you're 85 years old. You'll be hey guys, I became a world champion, and I'm writing a song for you guys. And now my
passion is karaoke. Now, who knows? Yeah, maybe it could be something that I practice. Just for long-term things, like you were saying, later on when we're older, and see my wife's songs.
Yeah. I also feel it at one point in time in your life, it had to have been a passion.
Yeah.
Right? It was a passion that got you through whatever you're going through when you're, coming
everything. Got me through everything.
Everything, right? And obviously, as professional athletes, we have a very short window of opportunity to make as much money as possible, right? Mm-hmm. When you're 44, 45, you have all this life to live. I'm sure you and your wife are going to have kids. You start playing in them. That's one thing I envy. I wish I could play a guitar. I wish I could sing. I wish I was musically inclined because it's something I can share with the kids. Now, when I tell my daughter bedtime stories, I tell her the story of Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. I'm like, all right,
that's a good story.
It's a great story. Right? I don't even read a book. I just tell her from scratch. And then we go to my second dad's house, and it will be the Deku tree. She goes, Dad, it's a Deku tree. And I'm like,
yeah.
Did the story right. Yes. Okay, so you didn't play sports. You went into music.
Yep.
Okay, now, what's going on, guys? This podcast is sponsored by VIIA Hemp. Now, VIIA Hemp is a premium hemp product company. They have hemp products from a range of CBD, THC, and flower. And the cool thing about VIIA Hemp is whether if you want to chill, relax, or get elevated, they got the right product for you. And if you guys want to find out more about VIIA Hemp, all you got to do is look in the description below. It has all the information that you need. That way you can see if VIIA Hemp is a good choice for you. And if you do that, make sure you use my promo code MIGHTY. That will save you 15% on your complete order. If you want more information about VIIA Hemp, all you gotta do is look in the description below. We have a link down there that'll give you guys all the information that you need to check out VIIA Hemp. Where does mixed martial arts come into play? Like what you're in school, you don't have the courage to do it, and then all of a sudden, I'm gonna pick the hardest fucking sport to do, mixed martial arts.
Crazy. So in high school, towards the end of high school, I mean, I had friends that knew what they were gonna do. Some went off to be firemen, some went off to college. A lot of people moved away. I was like kind of pissed off and just had a lot of aggression. You know, I'm 18, 19 years old. Just like, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Life sucks. I live in Vegas. Nothing going on for me. I'm not going to go to college. Like there was already things that I already made up, in my mind set. And at the time, friends who I grew up with and played music with, they ended up having a successful career, like in the metal and like hardcore genre.
Okay.
So they got signed to a label, and the label's like, okay, guys, it's time to go on your first tour.
Wow.
And they asked me like, hey, you don't have to play, but do you want to come with us? You know how it is. Like, you know how to run
you know how to do everything.
You know how to do everything. You can help us set up. You can sell our merch while we're playing. You can travel, and the label's going to pay for everything. So I was like, well, I don't have any plans after high school. So yeah, I'll do it.
That's awesome.
So from, summer after graduating until I first started fighting, I was traveling. When I would come home from tours, I worked at a Jimmy John's sandwich shop making sandwiches. So it was just kind of like, I would follow these guys on their dream, and then I'd come home and just like kind of work a deli job to make a little bit of extra cash. But I got to a point where I was very, very depressed. Suicidal, like I just didn't see the meaning of life. I didn't see, why am I alive? Like what am I even doing? I was smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day.
Damn.
I only drank soda or alcohol. I only ate, gas station food or just fast food, just bad stuff. That's all I consumed. So after a while, without even knowing it, that was all aiding in my depression, aiding in my anxiety, and all of these like emotions that I was feeling. It wasn't doing anything to make it better. So there was a point in between tours and being home. Also, we were like dead broke, my family and I. So
And your brothers are gone at this time?
I had one brother who was already training MMA.
Oh.
But when I came home from tour...
Don't ruin the story. Keep on going. I'm sorry.
When I came home from tour, he was like sitting in this machine and it was like rotating his shoulder. And I was like, you got fucked up. Like, what happened?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I went to this gym where they fight and da-da-da. And he starts showing me MMA. And I was like, this is cool. Like, I was like, you did this? And he's like, yeah. And there's a bunch of guys who do this.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is here in Vegas? He's like, yeah, it's here in Vegas. So he starts showing me different MMA fighters. Wow. And as he's recovering from his shoulder injury, I'm just sitting next to him, watching this, killing time. And that's around the time where I decided I want to do this because I was having health scares. I thought I was going to die in my sleep, things like that. And I knew that I needed to make a change.
Yeah. And
then when we started watching The Ultimate Fighter, we started to see that there were guys on that show that had similar backgrounds and stories to us.
Yeah.
We were like, I can relate with this guy. You mean to tell me that all he did was he had to just fight. And now he's going to be on this show and then could potentially fight again and then have like a future and a life.
Oh,
you know? So I saw the first outlet of like, maybe fighting is what's going to get me out of Las Vegas and out of like poverty.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
Like, you know, and out of depression. And so that was kind of like my introduction. So I really didn't get into like my first like one-on-one fist fight until I stepped in the cage.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is fascinating. Fascinating, right?
Crazy. Yeah.
See, this is the one thing I love about doing this podcast is that I don't feel anybody's going to sit down and hear this conversation.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I am fascinated. Like, I am like, now as we're going, I'm like, this motherfucker better win. Because when you win, I'm fucking selling. Just because it's like, you know, everybody has a story. Everybody has hard times, right? But to hear like you know, being depressed, because there was a point in time in my high school when I was depressed. Like I had no friends. I was eating the fucking library by myself. And my best friend was second grade. It's all my friends. They weren't there for me at my hardest times, right? And I found my outlet through video game and sports. But to hear you have almost the same story where you're like, what's my purpose in life? Like, hey, I have my buddies. We're going to tour with them. You come back home. The same thing I was doing. I was going to college. I'm going to college because it was the thing to do to be successful. And I'll come home during break and then I found Ultimate Fighter. And that's what it's like, man, I think I can do this. And so to hear, like our stories are pretty much similar along that same path. It's like, wow. Yeah. And the health scares and all that stuff, it's like, I'm just blown away because I would never have thought, I was like, yeah, man, I was a fucking D1 football player. I was hitting that eye gap, running motherfuckers down. Like, I thought that would have been your story, but it's not. So you get into mixed martial arts with your brother. Yeah. Now, walk me through that. Like, the first day you going to the gym, like your brother's recovering from shoulder surgery or injury.
Yeah. So he ended up recovering. It was towards the end, so he was comfortable with training again. But we found out from watching YouTube and DVDs, we saw Wanderlei Silva. And I thought, this guy's my favorite. The axe murderer. You know, and I'm like, wow, this guy fights crazy. If I fight, I want to fight like him. And so we started looking at, you know, what MMA gyms are in Las Vegas, and we saw that he had one. So I told my brother, I'm like, if we're going to fight, I want to learn from this guy. So we went to his gym. And from the first day that I showed up, it was very early morning, signed my membership, and took the Muay Thai class in the morning. And
fucking amazing.
After the first time I kicked the pad, and then the coach was like, again, and boom, and I was like, I like this. And, you know, I start like, you know, I just start ripping. No technique, but I'm just like, you're literally giving me the opportunity to like throw a punch and a kick full force. Like I've never done that in my life. So I started to feel this like sense of healing of like this aggression that I'd never let out on anybody. That was so shy, non-confrontational. But now I have this opportunity to like, I'm going to release my rage on every bag, every pad. But I couldn't breathe, dude, from the cigarettes.
Oh shit! So this time you're still smoking two
packs. First day. I might have probably ripped one right before we went into you know,
like,
went to the gym.
But
I couldn't breathe, and after the first day I realized like if I want to come back, if I want to do this again, I can't. Like I just can't breathe. And so that was the day that I just like went cold turkey, and we came back the next day and took the next class, like a jiu-jitsu class. And at the time I didn't like jiu-jitsu. I was a big guy, 300 pounds. You know, and I'm like, I can't move around. I'm not used to wrestling and grappling with people, and it frustrated me. And I wasn't flexible. It wasn't meant for me. I was like, I'm going to come back and keep punching and kicking.
Well, it's your first time actually doing a physical activity, right? From your whole entire life. So your joints, your muscles, your tendons are already kind of set in its ways, right? Like, so that's very understandable.
It really upset me that guys that were smaller than me that were good at jiu-jitsu could choke me, and you know, I'm like, by size I should be able to ruin you. Like, so my mentality early was like, stand up and I will you know, I'll annihilate you. But yeah, jiu-jitsu, like no punching and all this, so I lean more towards Muay Thai and boxing. So I just kept showing up, man, and I had some encouragement for the first time in my life too. One of the coaches, he's like, hey, I see you've been coming consistently for a week, you know, like keep coming. There could be something for you here. Like I see it. Just keep coming.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've never heard that in my life. No one's ever given me this like reassurance, this positive, you know what I mean? Like, it's reassurance, affirmation, reassurance. So I was like, okay, cool. And I looked at my brother. I'm like, the coach wants me to come back.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, I'm going to come back. And, you know, after that, I started to make friends within the gym. I started to see what the people were eating. They'd bring their food to the gym, chicken, rice, broccoli. So I went home and I started doing that. You know, I didn't know what I was doing, but I'm like, I saw this guy, he had chicken and broccoli and rice. So I made that and that's all I ate for like months.
You're like, oh my God. Brother, come in here.
Yeah, and then like after maybe 2 months, I started losing weight, and then people that didn't see me for a while were like, "Hey, dude, you're looking good." So I was like,
"You're just soaking it up."
Where is this positivity coming from? Because I was such a negative person, like literally, like about to, like wanted to end my life.
Yeah,
you know, and and things just started changing because I chose to train MMA. Yeah. So after 11 months of training, I lost 100 pounds.
Damn.
And the coaches found me an amateur fight and.
How was that?
TKO first round, 18 seconds, like ref stoppage. And my whole family was there.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, what? Like,
you're cheering for me?
You know, I was like, this is the first time in my life that I was like, I'd played on stage before. I saw my friends play on stage, but that's like a group setting.
They came for you.
These people came for me and they were cheering for me, like, and I won. And that, from that moment, I just continued to push and push and push, not even knowing if I even wanted to take it to a next level. I just was like, I'll do it again. I'll do it again. I'll do it again.
Yeah. Okay. Beautiful. By the way, beautiful. Because a lot of people don't understand that. You just show up. You show up, you put the work in, and you let the journey take you on. You walk the journey, right?
Yeah.
There is no journey, because when you jumped into it, it was like, oh, it's a cool outlet. I'm like doing it, and I get a good affirmation that there's something for me. Don't know what that is, but I'm getting healthier. I stopped smoking. I'm losing weight. The health scares are going away. A lot of people, I feel, when they jump into mixed martial arts in 2024, it's like, I'm going to be in the UFC. I want to be a world champion.
100%.
It's just like, you got it all wrong. It's like, it's a journey. You want to enjoy learning mixed martial arts, be healthier, and just have an outlet instead of the rat race. Right? Okay, so you start there. Now, in between there, you go to Thailand, right? Like last time we talked, you was like, I spent a couple years in Thailand.
I actually went to Thailand towards the not the end of my career, because it's still like I'm still in the middle. But
okay, well, now let's go back now. So okay, so you have your amateur fights. Then what was the next step? Because you go pro, and then you end up in an Ultimate Fighter. So
okay, so
buckle up, motherfuckers.
Yeah, buckle up.
We're here.
Buckle up. Okay. I had a good amateur run. I fought for the middleweight amateur title, won that. Fought for the light heavyweight amateur title. I won that as well. So like I had 7 amateur fights within 2 years.
Wow.
So 22 years old comes around. MMA is still something that I just kind of do. And at the time I was, the manager of a place called OTM Fight Shops. So we sold working. I went to work and went to train when I could. But for me, my priority was work. I worked at a fight shop, sold gear, sold everything to the boxing gyms, jiu-jitsu gyms. That was just my passion too. I was like, I'm in the mix. The boss offered me a job in California doing the same thing, and so I took it.
So you got out of Vegas.
So I got out of Vegas and I moved to Cali for a bit to just run that fight shop. And the boss tells me like, hey man, if you want to train, I can hook you up at Black House. That's where Lyoto and all those guys train. Just say the word and I can get you a place so you can stay active. So he set me up there. So I'm just working and training at Black House a couple days a week. And then that's when I met Anderson. Anderson welcomed me into his training camp, working with him a bit, built that relationship, and then I started to take pro fights in the RFA. So I had 2 pro fights in the RFA, but it was like $1,000, $1,200. And at the time, although I won both of them, I just knew like I can't make a living off of fighting.
You still got to work.
I have to work. That's the most important thing. And then I got a job offer in Las Vegas to work construction that was paying me $1,000 a week.
Damn. That's more than fighting.
Yeah, like fighting, I fight once, twice a year on those regional circuits.
Yeah. $2,000 a game.
You know what I mean? $2,000 and I still got to pay coaches, whatever. So like it just made way more sense to me to go for the security of working construction and making $1,000 a week.
Yep.
So I left everything behind in California and I moved back to Vegas and I worked construction 5 days a week. Wow. From 5 a.m. to 1 o'clock, but my checks every week were great.
Yeah.
So I'm like, cool, fighting's done. I got got my career ahead of me, and then I ran into my current coach John Wood, who was training my brother. My brother was fighting in the World Series of Fighting at the time.
Okay.
John's like, hey man, what's going on? How's everything? I'm like, good. I'm working construction, making $1,000 a week.
I'm making more than my fucking brother. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah. Like, how much is he getting paid? $3,000. Like, sick. I can make that in less than a month.
Yeah.
But he's like, I don't know, man. You shouldn't give up fighting. Like, there's something there for you. And
so
I was
at this time, you've already given up fighting.
Yeah, I was already like, dude, I'm working construction.
Yeah.
Like, I'll still train when I want, but like, I'm not gonna take this seriously.
Yeah.
How could I?
Fuck, God damn it.
I saw everybody that was around me. They were all kind of making the same money. Only the guys in the UFC were making bigger money. And so John was just like, dude, just come train with me. Give me a week.
Yep.
Like, let's just hit pads every day for a week. Come into my gym and let's see if your mind changes.
Yep.
Spent that week training with John. Started feeling good again. Kind of weird. RFA called me for a fight. Like, hey, we have a fight lined up for you.
Yep.
And then also around the same time, crazy, John goes, hey dude, Ultimate Fighter's coming up, but you need 3 fights to get in, and at the time I only had 2. So we both agreed. He's like, RFA just called you can take that fight and then that'll make us eligible for the Ultimate Fighter.
Yep.
So I ended up signing and agreeing to fight, and that fight was on a Friday. Ultimate Fighter tryouts were on Sunday.
Holy shit.
So it was like cutting it real close, So I was like, I have to win this fight.
Yeah.
So I fought, I won, but I had a cut. So I went to Ultimate Fighter tryouts with a cut, but we still had to grapple and do everything that we had to do. Kind of like nothing really comes out of it, but like a month later we get a call back like, hey, welcome, you made it through the tryouts. Now you got to come and fight to get in the house.
Yeah.
So everything was
get in the house.
Yeah.
Oh my god! So you're back in construction. Like, hey, man,
I went back to work. Yeah, I went back to work.
Keep talking. I'm just gonna check the camera. Keep talking like I'm right here. Yep.
So I went back to work. I told the boss like, hey, I auditioned for this reality show. It's possible that they can call me back. So if they do, I'll probably have to take a couple months off of work. And he's like, yeah, no biggie. So yeah, I went back to work as normal. And then I got the call. They're like, okay, on this date, show up. You made it through the auditions. Now we just need you to fight. And if you win that fight, then you get into the house and you'll be gone for 7 weeks.
Yep.
So I was just ready for the opportunity. I took it and had my fight to get into the house. And that's when the first time that people saw me soccer kick. So I like dropped the guy
you
second round. You
beat the shit out of him. Yeah, you're like, whack, but you didn't kick him in the face. You kicked him in the body, right? So, yeah.
Which like kind of learned from Wanderlei.
Yep.
So, yeah, man, only had 3 professional fights that were, regional circuit fights. Not even really fully.
You were fully training.
Yeah, it wasn't fully training.
It was almost a point where it's like, hey, I have this opportunity.
Yeah.
Where I think that's the best. My personal opinion, that is the best way to approach mixed martial arts, right? Because you didn't have all your eggs in that basket, right? You're working full time, you're making it $4,000 a month, right? So when you got the opportunity to go into fight, it's like, oh fuck it, why not? Let's see what happens. I'll be gone for 7 weeks. Okay, that's fine. I'll miss out on $7,000.
Yeah,
right. If I do become successful, I'll make that money back when I make it to the UFC.
Exactly. So that's exactly how it happened. Yeah, took the time off of work and fought and made it into the house. It was a crazy like up and down there. I made it with my training partner who like we trained together for a year. And we both made it onto the house. We both won our fights. And then we were both on opposite teams.
Oh, Lord.
So my first fight in the house was against
him,
my friend.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
They probably set that shit.
I think they did.
They're like, here's Khalil, and here's his buddy.
Yeah.
We're going to fight. We need the TV ratings up, guys. Come on, to make it happen.
But even to this day, like we're still training partners.
That's
like
awesome.
We're still like this, but we had to fight each other.
Yeah.
It was a bit difficult. It wasn't the same for me because it was my friend.
Of course.
So we knew where we got the best of each other in training.
Yeah.
And at the time, he was a better grappler. So like I dropped him. Didn't finish because I'm like,
it's your fucking friend.
you know,
Yeah.
so that killer instinct wasn't there.
Yeah.
It goes a bit, and then he ends up sinking in the rear naked choke. But one of the takedowns that he had, I remember like I was dropping elbows to like his like trap neck, and that shut him down. He couldn't fight again for the whole season. Yeah, like caused like major damage.
So you end up hurting him. He ends up finishing you, right?
Yeah.
And then
But for the rest, so although I lost the fight, for the rest of the show,
he couldn't fight.
He couldn't fight.
Wow.
So towards the end of the season, they brought me back, and they were like, you have to fight. And then they made me fight my other friend who was my bunkmate on the same team. So like I'm already in my mind, I'm like, I'm out of the competition, but I'm not out of the competition.
Yeah.
Right. But I made friends with a guy named Josh, and we were just like, we were bunkmates. You know, all we had was to talk to each other because we didn't have anything else.
No TV, no fucking phone.
Yeah. So
nothing.
like Josh and I feel like got closer in the house than Corey and I did in the gym.
Yeah.
But then I had to replace Corey and come back and fight Josh.
Yeah.
But I knew I can't make the same mistake.
Of course.
I have to finish this guy.
Yeah.
That's what got me into the finals.
Okay.
So I fight the finals in MGM against a wrestler, and he took me down for 3 rounds and just like laid on me. But Dana was not happy with that performance, and he knew what I was capable of because even in my semifinal fight, like it was a banger.
Yeah.
And he gave me a contract anyway.
Nice. So you got a contract. You have to refresh my memory. I think the contract was like $100,000 for 10 fights. What was it?
Yeah,
like back in the day?
Something like that. Back in the day, I think like, man, I think when I first got signed to the UFC, my show money was like 10 grand.
Okay. So I said, so it's standard contract.
It was like
everything
10
else.
and 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
Boom. So now here you are. Now you're making 10K to show up, and you're making a 10K if you win. So that's
And I'm in the UFC.
And you're in the UFC.
Know, like,
so it's like, I never dreamed of being here.
Yeah.
But now you're at a place where it's like, hey, you're eating healthy. You feel good. You're the biggest stage in mixed martial arts.
Yeah.
You're here now, 10-10. All right, we're out of the house. Pick up from there, my friend.
Yeah.
Do you want anything? You want water, juice, anything like that?
I'm okay. I'll crack this.
Okay. I just want to make sure. This is a good story.
So I get signed to the UFC, and after that, like I ended up getting booked my first fight out of the country. So like I fought for the final.
Yep.
Lost that one. So my like first actual official UFC fight.
Because those are all considered exhibition, right? So it's not really on your record.
Well, that one was because it was it was sanctioned. It like, you know, for 3 rounds, everything.
Yeah.
But like after actually getting handed a contract and saying like for the next 6 fights, whatever.
Yep.
So my first fight under contract was in Australia.
Wow.
But I only had 3 fights.
Yeah.
You know, like,
technically you only had 3 legit.
I only had 3 actual fights.
Fights. Regional.
Yeah.
You're still working full time. So technically right now, up to this point, you still haven't got home, did a full training camp, okay, Khalil, this is what this guy does. He does da-da-da-da. We're going to put together a great game plan on you. We're going to get your nutrition right. We're going to get your weight right. You haven't even experienced that point. And now you're going to do your first fight in Australia.
Yeah.
At this point where you're like, hey, I'm all in, or you're still like, hey, I made it. I got a contract.
I still was working.
Yeah.
You know, like still working and doing the same things because I didn't know any different.
Yeah.
At this time, I just knew I'm just getting paid to fight.
Yep.
I'm getting paid more to fight.
Yep.
But I still continue to work and took that fight out in Australia, and kind of the same thing happens. I like dropped the guy, but then he rear naked choked me. And then that's when I met my strength and conditioning coach, who like was so mad at me. I didn't even know him. I didn't even know him, but he was like, we met randomly in the gym, and he was getting ready to climb Kilimanjaro. and he had like all the, like his mask on and he's training hard. And I don't know what I was doing in the gym, but he's like, what are you training for?
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm a UFC fighter. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And he's like, no, you're not. And I was like, yeah. He's like, you're not a professional athlete.
Ooh.
Like, you can't even touch your toes. Like, you can't even squat. You're
Uh-oh.
like, you know, so at the beginning, like,
What is?
yeah.
Man goes through his life. He's very peaceful. Here's Khalil, very peaceful.
Yeah,
I'm living my best life. People are starting to love me. And this guy's like, you ain't an athlete. You came to show. You're like,
exactly.
who the fuck?
So it was kind of, it was a similar thing where he's like, start training with me.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And he's really what, like, he was Lorenzo, his name. He was a really big, like, pivotal moment in my life because I thought I was working hard and I thought I was training, but he started to kind of like keep it real with me from the beginning and expose me. Like, you got finished, like that choke, you could have survived it, but you tapped because you're afraid of getting choked, you know, like, so I started like bringing these like reality to my mind, and started teaching me like how to work hard. And right before he left to go, or there was a moment before he left to go climb the mountain, where he was like, you know, as I sit here and contemplate my life and contemplate, like, I could possibly not come back from this mountain. A lot of people don't make it back. He's like, but I think about the people that are going with me. And he's like, he said, but I don't think that you're a type of man that I could rely on to like save my life. Like, based off of how you show up and like your efforts, he's like,
at this time, you've already been training with him.
Yeah, like,
this motherfucker,
a few months in, you know, but we're like building a relationship. But like, he's always kept it real with me. So he hit me with like a hard truth. He's like, I don't see you as a type of man that I can like trust to save my life in like real life situations. Yeah. And that stung. Yeah. And so from that moment on, I started to try to like prove to him like, no, I'm never going to let you down. Yeah. And we got another call to fight, Paul Craig in Scotland, and my mindset already was like, I just have to prove to Lorenzo that I'm
not gonna give up.
I'm not gonna give up.
Yeah.
So whatever he's gonna tell me to do in this training camp and whatever we have to do to train and prepare, I'm not gonna give up. Yep. And like, that fight was one of my favorite fights. I go out there, starch the student, his home country, first round, and I'm like, okay.
I told you, motherfucker.
I started to get a glimpse, you know? Like, I started to get a glimpse of like, okay, I see what you mean. Yeah. I see the effort it takes. And it just like, it just built from there, man. Wow. I don't even know, like, the story, like, it goes on. Like, there's so many little pieces, but...
and at this time, how old are you at this time?
At this time, I'm probably 26.
25, 26. Okay, so we're going to fast forward through a lot of stuff because there's always ups and downs in somebody's career. But I feel like God, it's just so crazy where I feel like Lorenzo is his name. I feel like that was probably the first father figure that you probably looked at, because here's somebody, a random person, and you're training. He's like, you're not a professional athlete. And you're like, the last couple of years, I am a professional athlete. I trained with Silva. I trained at Wanderlei Silva's gym, and I'm winning. Yeah. And I just got a contract for 10 and 10, and I'm not even fucking trying. And you're telling me I'm not a professional athlete? Yeah. Okay. All right. And then I'll train with you. You're training. You're building a relationship with him. And next thing you know, he goes, you know what, man? You know what, Khalil? I don't think you motherfucker who would bail me out. And you're like, you're not like dad, but you're like, damn, like, I see you as a father figure, right? Yeah. Me growing up, I just met my father 8 years ago. So for me, I always looked at different men in my life as a father figure. And when you tell that story about like, I'm gonna do everything he says, I'm gonna prove to you that I'm not, that character flaw that you think is in me is not true, right? Yeah. So I can see, like, when he said that, like, you saw as a father figure. So I kind of find that interesting. That was an interesting story. Okay, fast forward. You're in the UFC. You've been in the UFC your whole entire career, right? Now you're on a 5-fight win streak, right? Before your wife left, before we started the interview, 4 of those fights have been finishes, and now you're getting an opportunity to fight for the world title. You look at the span of your career, right? Ups and downs. When you first started it, you never took it serious, right? Now you get an opportunity to fight for the belt. What changed to where you started taking it serious? Like, you know, we're basically time jumping a lot of stuff, but there had to be a point in time in that middle. Can you talk about like when you're like, okay, because the first 2 fights in the UFC contract, it was all overseas. Yeah. So you I'm sure when you did those fights, you never really actually can't fight in Australia. I'm going to go over 2 weeks early to acclimate to the time zone, get my body acclimated to the season. Or did you do that?
Nope.
Okay. I didn't think you did because you're still working full time.
Yeah.
Second fight, Scotland, right?
Yeah.
You went over, 4 days before the fight, your start room. At what point in time I was like, okay, I'm a full-time athlete. I'm making great money. What was that point?
Okay, so that point was recently. I'd say that point happened 2021.
Think about that. You're in the UFC. You're 22 years old. 2021. I'm not going to do the fucking math. Can you help me out here? What age was that? 31?
31.
31 years. 31-year-old. You've been in the UFC
Took me 11 years.
11 years in the UFC, and now you're like, okay, I guess I'll take this serious.
Yeah.
I'll take this serious.
Yeah, so actually, it took about... So 11 years total. In 2021, I'd been training for 11 years.
Yep.
I was probably 6 or 7 years deep into the UFC. But it took that long for me to really make that adjustment. So there was a moment in my career, still signed to the UFC, where I decided that other things were important to me.
Yeah.
I wanted to pursue a relationship, and I started traveling the world and living in random places in Paris and Belgium and Brazil, and I'm just like,
that's where you got that goddamn accent from. Living in all these damn places.
Yeah, so I was just in the pursuit of other things, and I find myself just kind of traveling everywhere in the world. And I lost a really big fight to Johnny Walker that I knew I could win.
Yeah.
But I was just not in the place emotionally, mentally at all. I didn't even want to be there. Fight week, I didn't even want to be there. The night we went out to fight, I just didn't want to be there. I told my coaches everything. So it was already bad going into that fight. I go in there, suffer the first knockout of my career. I get knocked out, and that was a big moment of reflection for me. And I was like, okay, aside from the emotional stuff, what technical errors did I make?
Yeah.
So I started looking over film, and I see that okay, he clinched me and he knocked me out with an elbow.
Yep.
I'd never learned elbow defense. I'd never even learned how to throw proper elbows, but I've always loved Muay Thai, and I know that was something. So I made the decision, I'm going to go to Thailand then. I got nothing else going on.
Yep.
I'm going to learn from this, and I'm going to go to Thailand and learn Muay Thai the right way. And when I got to Thailand, it was nothing like I ever experienced. I went to a gym in Bangkok, so it was away from a lot of the tourists.
Yep.
And there was one guy there, Savas Michael he fights in one.
Okay.
He was the only English speaking guy, or one of the only ones, and he told me, if you want to survive here, you got to learn the language. This is where you eat. This is how you get around. So I loved it. I was just a
new experience.
It was
in your
new
life.
experience for me. The Thai culture and people were so amazing, and I'd never really felt so welcomed in a country, because I've been so many.
Yeah.
And so I'm I can get around this. And that's when I decided, okay, I'm going to stay longer than a month. I'm just going to stay here for as long as I can. And
how long did you end up staying for?
Almost 3 years.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
How many?
Almost 3.
3 years.
Yeah. So I got there
Holy shit.
end of towards the end of 2018.
Okay.
And then I was there all of 2019.
Yep.
And then all of 2020 during COVID.
Wow.
So
and that's when everything shut down.
Shut down.
Okay.
The world shut down.
Yeah.
But UFC fights were still happening.
Going on, but it was over in Saudi. It was over in Abu Dhabi.
Yep.
But at that time, they were very selective of the athletes they were going to put on, because it wasn't like they were having them on every single week.
Exactly.
So that was almost perfect for you. It's hey, everything's shut down. I'm in Thailand. I can really hone in on just learning Muay Thai.
I only wanted to do Muay Thai, and I even I remember asking the UFC can I fight Muay Thai, please? They're no. Yeah. It's just contractually no. And I was I won't even use my name.
Yeah.
My Thai trainer has a name for me. My Thai trainer already calls me something different.
Yeah.
No one will know about this. It's and they were no. And that's where there was a moment in my career where I announced hey guys, after my next fight, I'm done. I'm retiring. I'd made up my mind that I was going to live the rest of my life in Thailand.
Wow.
I was going to train Muay Thai. I was going to take Muay Thai fights and maybe open a coffee shop and just live my life happy. Because when I got there, I'm I made this is all I want in my life.
Yeah. You want peaceful life? You're not worried about this and all that?
Simple life. And I can enjoy fighting, especially because Muay Thai and the culture was so nice. Everybody was cool.
Yep.
Warming up in the same locker room.
Yep.
No malicious intent.
Yep.
It was just skill for skill.
Yeah.
You got the skill. Okay, we're gonna put that together.
Yep.
So I was completely intrigued by it. I fell in love with it. But then COVID happened and I had to fight.
Yeah.
And UFC, you know, at the time they offered me a new contract as well. So I'm like, man, I can't turn this down.
Yeah.
But
because I'm sure the money was a lot better.
Yes.
A lot better.
Yes.
Because at that time, were you still on your first contract with the UFC? Or
I was on like my second contract,
okay,
but
so
it still wasn't really good.
Still really good, but this one's going to be a lot better.
Yeah, a lot better.
Yep.
But when I spoke to the Thai immigration, they said, well, if you leave, we don't know when you can come back
Gotcha.
because of COVID.
Yep.
Everything's shut down. If you leave, you leave.
Yep.
Come back whenever.
Yep.
Well, we can't help you.
Yeah.
So I just was like, okay, well, if I have to leave this place that I love and that I literally want to spend the rest of my life, then I'm going to make it worth something.
Yeah.
And so I called Lorenzo and I called John and everyone. I'm like, guys, I'm coming back home.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop you right there. So
Okay.
at this time when you went over to Thailand, this whole journey so far, you've never had like a legit, I don't say legit, you never had like, for me, it was Matt Hume. He was my one who goes, okay, Demetrious, this is what you did wrong. Let's work on this area. Okay, you did very good at this fight. Let's work on this area. Let's get your jiu-jitsu strong. Hey, you know what? This is Bibiano Fernandez, one of the best grapplers in the world. I want you guys to train because I think you guys will learn a lot from each other.
Yeah.
For you, I feel like you're like a journeyman, not like a journeyman, but like you're like fucking
Like a nomad,
you're
like a
Ryu.
samurai.
Yeah, you got your backpack and like, you know, I'm gonna go to Thailand and learn Muay Thai.
Yeah.
You're out there for 4 years and you're like, you get a new contract. Oh fuck, I need to take advantage of this. Hey guys, I'm coming back home to train. So you really didn't have somebody overseeing your
there
training.
was no structure. Yeah, wherever I went, whatever country I went to, it was just like
You learning.
making friends.
Yep.
You know, like, hey, this is who I am. This is my name.
Yeah.
Came to check out your gym.
Yeah.
And then, learn what I learned and stay for however long I stay and then off to the next place. But like I said, Thailand was the only place where like for the first time in my life, I was sure.
Yeah.
I'm
you want to be here.
I'm not going
Is
anywhere.
this where you met your wife?
We met, so really weird. She grew up going to Thailand.
Okay.
Family having like vacation home there. I found out about her through some friends in Thailand at the time. Like, you don't follow this girl? I was like, no, who's this? Oh, she loves Muay Thai. She's always out here, blah, blah, blah. So I see it and I'm like, okay, follow her.
They're like this luscious black man out here.
Yeah. So we have mutual friends.
Yep.
And we followed each other, but we never met. Okay. And I came back to USA for like a business conference and it just so happened that she was there.
Oh, wow.
And we like met there and then we were like hooked from that moment. And then we met back up in Thailand. COVID happened. And then she's just like, well, yeah, it was kind of a decision. We'd only known each other for a couple months.
Yeah.
And we're like, well, are we going to do this? Like,
yeah.
You know, it's either you leave now or, what are we doing?
Because she would have left. She can't, right? And you guys are probably already heading off. So I just wanted to make sure I brought, for my own recollection, where you guys met.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get the new contract. The UFC is like, hey, we got to fight. You're like, okay, I'm calling the boys back home. John, Lorenzo, we'll come back home. Continue, my friend.
So, John, he said, yeah, absolutely. Doors always welcome at Syndicate.
Yep.
I would love for you to come back and we start working again. And Lorenzo's like, yeah, if you come back, you already know the deal.
Yep.
I need 100% effort.
Yeah.
I need focus.
Yep.
But he's like, but I need to know what you want. Like, what do you want out of all of this? You know, like,
you have these moments in your life. I feel like so far, from the very beginning at 11 years old, what is the purpose of life? What is my meaning of life? Then you go off, you fall in love with music, you go through your life, you have your brothers, and you find mixed martial arts. The first thing that's giving you that, that reaffirmation, like, oh, I'm doing something. Then you meet Lorenzo. He tests your character. He says you have a character flaw.
Yeah.
You prove him wrong. You go off to Thailand. You want to learn Muay Thai. Then you're coming back, right? You feel like you got everything together. You met your beautiful wife. You're like, I'm going to come back and train. And then there he is again.
Yeah. What do you want out of this?
What do you want out of this, right? So he's always testing.
Yeah.
I feel like you said, he's a very pivotal thing in your life because people go through the whole entire life not even asking themselves that question.
Exactly.
What do I want in life?
Yeah.
Continue.
So, because I asked him, I'm like, hey, I'm coming back. I want to train with you. It's like, yeah, of course, absolutely. But then, it hits me with the big question, like, what do you want? Like, what's the goal? What do you want out of this? And I got to a point of like saying, well, if I'm going to leave this place, if I'm going to leave Thailand and I don't know when I can come back, then I want to be 2 feet in and I want to get that belt. Yeah. Like I'm going to have, my focus is just to be the champion. Yep. And he's like, well, that's going to take a hell of a lot of fucking work. You know, like you like that's just. I
love how he was straight up goes, it's take a lot of work. Yeah. But I believe you can do it.
Yeah. He's like, it's going to take a lot of work. Yeah. And he's like, but if that's what you want, then I promise you that's what I'll give you. Yeah. Like I'll hold you accountable. Yep. If I see that there's areas that, you know, that you're lacking, I'm gonna hold you accountable. You're probably gonna hate me. Yeah. But you're telling me that you want to be a champion and you had to leave your dream behind to pursue the other one. Yep. Okay. When you land, send me a text, and that's literally where we've been since 2021.
Wow! And then that's where you went on this amazing run. Yeah, the five fight win streak.
5 win streak. 5 fight win streak, and actually now is the time where.
And that's when you said, okay, you came over to Thailand. I was like, okay, I'm taking this shit serious. The money's a lot better.
Money's better.
I got money stacked up.
Yeah, I can make do with what I have, you know? And so...
and your wife came with you.
Wife came with me.
You guys weren't married at the time.
We weren't married at the time. We first set up shop in New York, and I had like kind of a balance. So I'd come to Vegas and I'd do training camp. And then after my fight, I'd go back to New York and just kind of...
live out there
for a couple of weeks. You know, Lorenzo was like, nah, dude,
you need your ass
this
back
ain't
here.
months off. Yeah. It's like, if you want to do this, it's just full time.
Yeah.
So after a year of kind of bouncing back and forth, my wife and I decided like, let's just move everything over to Vegas, and go even more all in. Yeah. And then, we've been on a crazy win streak, but this is a moment in my career and in my life right now where I really feel like there's still so much room for growth, but I'm at my very best. Yeah. And I'm doing things. I feel like if I needed to go right now and practice with the Raiders, I feel like, okay, I can. Yeah. You know, just from the stuff that we're doing athletically, it's like my life is this. Yeah. It's not working another job. It's not going out with friends. Like I don't
do that shit.
I got rid of whatever a normal life looks like. Yeah. And my life is just dedicated to like becoming a champion.
Wow. I love that. I love that. I love that. It's just, your story is just so fascinating and amazing from being, do you speak Thai?
I do. Yeah. Oh, wow. So I learned enough to be able to survive on my own. Yeah. Order my food, take my taxi, you know, have just like small talk on the street. Yeah. I still practice. Wow. So I have like, you know, one of those like language apps.
Are you going to retire there?
Like I'm going to retire somewhere close to there.
Gotcha.
I'm going to retire in a place that it only can take me max 6 hours to get to Thailand.
Gotcha. That way, because I feel like that you grew a lot out there.
Yeah.
Right? Especially in the times where you met your wife. You know,
there's
the
something
culture
there, man. Yeah, like something to my soul. Yeah. You know, like I don't know. There's just something about the place. There's something about the family that took me in. Thailand taught me a lot without, you know, like just everything about the place, the energy of the place. First time really like diving into
a different culture,
like a different culture and like a deeper side of myself and like a more simple side of myself as well.
Because you went out there by yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
That went solo.
That's fucking crazy, right? You tell somebody from your background, from being not having their courage to do a sport and all that stuff. Yeah. You went to California by yourself to open a shop. You came back, you started training again. Then you're like, I got knocked out. I'm gonna go to Thailand by myself. Yeah. That's uncharted territory. You was like, hey man, you want to go to Thailand? Let's go, man.
Yeah, like I didn't have friends there. Like someone set me up to let me know, like, hey, this is the hotel. You know, it was kind of like I showed up. Yep. I was there. And okay, what are we doing? You know, like, what are we doing?
You ain't got time to fuck around, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so 5-fight win streak. You're taking on Alex Potan Pereira.
Yeah.
All right. Now I saw some stuff that you did. You're like, in all my fights, I never taken anybody down.
Yeah.
You just stand and bang.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what you're comfortable with. That's where you go ahead. Just say anything what you want to, baby. And that's how you feel you're gonna approach that fight. You're gonna go out there and fucking bang with them.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, it sounds good.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, like. I feel like a lot of the times when we think of like stand and bang.
Yeah.
It's very like wild.
Yeah.
I plan to go out there and strike to the best of my ability.
I'm just fucking bullshit.
I get what you mean, but
Yeah.
just for other people that may be expecting something else, like neither of us are idiots.
Yeah.
I think we both know what we're up against.
Yep.
And I think that it's just like, what an exciting time in MMA. What an exciting time for supporters of me.
Yeah.
What an exciting time for supporters of him.
Yeah.
It's
And for supporters of him, supporters of you, but not just them. What an amazing time for you,
Yeah,
right?
man.
Because this came out of left field. You weren't like, correct me if I'm wrong, because when we talked on the phone, you're like, hey man, we're doing the MightyCast. Like, fuck man, I'm doing all this. I just found out, right? So they just called you random, like, hey man, you're getting the next shot.
Yeah. So, I was under suspension.
Yep.
For I self-reported like taking a banned substance that was given to me. Gave them all the facts, gave UFC everything. They saw it wasn't my fault. So they're like, okay, cool. We're going to do whatever we can to make sure that, like you're not punished for this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And so, I was just like dealing with that and then kind of talking a little bit back and forth with the athletic commission. Like, guys, what's it looking like?
Yeah.
Give me an idea, like what's, and
Can
like,
I go back to Thailand? What's going on here?
Like I'm thinking,
how long
I'm thinking everything. And the last time I spoke to the athletic commission, the number that I heard was 9 months.
Yeah.
So I'm like, 9 months. Okay. That means that I won't be able to fight until February.
Yep.
So I'm like, okay, whatever, swallow that.
Yep.
Do whatever I got to do with it. And I just continue to train.
Yep.
And then, on a random Wednesday, I just get a phone call from UFC and like, hey, how's your day going? I'm like, terrible. Cause I was like, no, I actually was having like probably the worst day.
Yeah.
I'm like, terrible. What's up?
Yeah.
Well, I got some good news for you. You're fighting Alex October 5th for the title, Salt Lake City. And I just lost my mind. I was like, no way.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Like, yeah, way.
Yeah.
I was like, well, okay. Well, all right. What do I do?
Yeah.
Start training.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I'm already training. Okay, cool. Well, then be ready.
Yeah.
It was just
Good luck.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I like immediately like told my wife like, this has just happened.
What
This
did
phone
she
call.
what
She
did
just started crying. Boom.
Oh.
Yeah. And everybody else in the room just kind of breaks down.
Yeah.
And I was still like in shock.
Yeah.
Not even thinking it's real.
Yeah.
Later on, like an hour later, I get another call from one of the matchmakers, and he's just like, hey, dude, just wanted to say congratulations. I know how hard you've been working. And I'm like, okay, this is happening.
Yeah.
This is happening. And now I'm just living in that moment in my life and in my story where like things that I saw possible, things that I've been working for, every fight that I've had, like it all builds up to this, and this is such a cool time for me because not long ago,
not long ago at
I
all.
was not this person. And not long ago, like none of this was really like possible, I guess,
or on your radar.
Yeah.
Right?
Was it?
You're in Thailand. You're like, hey, can I fight? Can I? This is my last fight in MMA that I'm gonna do Thai. Right? I'm gonna do Muay Thai, and then eventually you get that call. You don't get the call, but you get a new contract. I was like, okay, it's more money. So maybe if I can win a couple fights, I come back out here to Thailand and just live my life. And then you have Lorenzo, who was like, what do you want from this? You're like, you know what? I want to be a world champion. Yeah. You come back, you go on this amazing 5-fight win streak, and before we started the podcast, I said it is crazy in today's market of mixed martial arts. People like you, like Merab, and the reason I throw Merab is because he was on a 10-fight win streak to get his title shot against Sean O'Malley.
Yeah.
You were on a 5-fight win streak to get your title shot. So many people get title shots off less, right?
Yeah.
They have a bigger name. There's a story there. But I think a lot of people forget about merit, right? Like you have to put the fucking work in order to get your title shot.
Yeah.
Where, I hate to say it, Stephen Miocic, he's getting a title shot against John Jones and he hasn't fought in 4 years. There's way more people in the division who've been put way more rubber to the pavement.
Yeah.
And I think for you to get this opportunity in your mixed martial arts career is amazing because you're on a 5-fight win streak, 4 finishes, right? Like, well deserved.
Thanks. Yeah, I feel the same way. I think that definitely helps, having 5-fight win streak, 4 finishes. But also when you go and look at the rest of my fights that weren't included in the streak, just my wins, they're all very exciting.
Yeah.
Right. And so when we talk about like styles, as well,
styles,
like stylistically, man, this is a great fight.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that I understand that there are people that are upset, and it's okay. I mean, it's okay. I think for the people who are fans of fighting and fans of us, it's gonna be good. You know what I mean? And so I'm honestly like extremely grateful. Like that's the biggest thing that I feel in all this. Like I'm grateful. I'm happy.
Yeah.
Like
that's the most
I'm
important part.
I'm not worried. I'm not stressed. It's like what a beautiful time right now. Opportunity. Yep. Amazing time to be alive. I've worked so hard. I put in so much work to get to this point. Like I'm gonna enjoy it.
You think your sadness is gonna affect my vision of this opportunity? Yeah, I think you have the right mindset to go in this fight against Alex. I'm super excited to watch it just because, I've seen parts of your career, right? And to sit here and hear your story about how you, in high school, you didn't do any fucking sports.
Yeah, none.
Or middle school, right? And then you almost had to learn by going, and you never really had that master figure over you, like, hey, Khalil, we're going to work on this. You got Lorenzo, right? But Lorenzo's more strength and conditioning.
Yeah.
He's probably never fought a day in his life, but he has that mental and athletic, he knows how to train athletes, train people to be the best.
And he's a great dad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, he's a great father. All of his children have done great things in sports. So yeah, he's been involved in that stuff for a very long time.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like, kind of like someone in the martial arts world who's overseeing what I'm doing, or hey, do this, do that. Like, no, it's whatever. It's whoever I've met that feels some type of
connection to help you.
Gotcha. And it's always been like, guys, Wanderlei was very early on. Anderson, Lyoto.
Yep.
I mean, even Glover back in the day, like I trained with him a little bit. He was some guy, like I took pointers from him.
Yeah.
Like, so I've had the opportunity to really like meet some of the best in the world and taken some advice from a lot of them, and it's made me who I am today as a fighter, for sure.
Nah, that's what's up. Well, Khalil, this is your opportunity to tell the people where they can follow you on Instagram, social media. I mean, I don't know how long we've been going for. What time is it? Let me see what time it is. I got so many more questions to ask you. We're gonna go for an hour and a half. What time we start? 2:30?
2 something.
Okay, I'm gonna ask a couple more questions.
Okay.
Here, cut it. Okay, so then what else, like right now, but I feel like you're the type of person, athlete, where you're just focused on this right now.
Yeah.
Nothing else exists outside of fighting, right?
Right now, my biggest focus is 100% this fight and getting this belt.
Yep.
After that, I plan to do something here in my city, in Las Vegas. I really want to bring the UFC belt home. There hasn't been a Las Vegas champion ever. Like a home grown Las Vegas, we have a champion. And this is the home of the UFC.
Wow.
Like,
think about that.
Yeah, exactly.
The UFC's been around since 1993.
Yes, exactly.
And there's never been.
No, there's not a person from Las Vegas to bring the belt home. So for me, that's important. And that's where I see like, okay, I'm at this moment where all I'm focusing on is winning this fight.
Yeah.
But what comes with winning that fight is like bringing that belt home and making an impact on the city somehow. I want, like, now it's like, okay, now I want to share my story with my home.
Oh, absolutely.
With my city, with the kids who are living in East Las Vegas, North Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Not knowing the kids that were just like me.
Yeah.
Because the city's changed, but they're still like on the outside.
Absolutely.
It's still the same stuff going on.
Yeah.
So I mean, for me, it would be, bring the belt home, like use that as kind of like my microphone to like, I don't know, get people together to, maybe it's like I open up like a big facility here that's big enough to house, a few hundred people, or there's some type of foundation or something where like I can use what I've done and use the like my story, but to like make an impact on the home and like where it all started for me. So that way everything else after that, like I can go on, do whatever, but I want to do something important for the city.
Honestly, sitting here and listening to your story, I don't think you need the belt to do that. I think if you have the belt, it adds extra icing on the cake. But I think your personality and your journey of where you started into where you're at today is more than enough, because you've made it out. You're well taken care of. You met a beautiful wife. You guys have an amazing marriage from the outside in, looking in. You're not stressed anymore. You don't have anxiety. You're very well spoken. You can have a conversation. You moved to Thailand by yourself and learn Thai. Like, you guys be like, guys, I used to be just like you guys, and look where I'm at now, right? Like, you can do anything you want and put your mind to, as long as you keep a open mindset to do that. Like, so I think that's beautiful. And I just think you don't need the belt to do that.
Gotcha.
I think, me personally, right? A lot of people, I remember when Conor McGregor fought Jose Aldo, and he goes, Jose Aldo has been a champion for 6-7 years. What door has he opened? He hasn't opened any doors. When I win a belt, I'm going to open all these doors. Well, that's not necessarily true, right? I think Aldo has opened up a lot of doors in Brazil, right? And I still think, even though he's not the champion, he's still opening doors, right? He's still inspiring the younger generation in Brazil. So I think for you, don't sell yourself short. I think obviously, if you get the belt, a lot of people like, I'm not going to do this until I do this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where I'm saying, obviously the belt is nice to have. It's an extra icing on the cake, but I think your story already, you can do that if you wanted to.
Yeah.
If you wanted to, right? But right now you're focused 100% on the fight.
Yeah, my focus is the belt, right?
The belt.
And the just really finally being at like the pinnacle of, of the sport, of my career. And I've worked myself high enough to get to this point. And I'd hope that, like I'm working towards the ultimate outcome being like, I win this belt.
Oh, 1,000%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So then like after that, what comes next? I think the biggest thing I think is just like, how can I share this?
Yeah, absolutely.
Whether I have the belt or not, obviously belt is like, that's what I'm focused on. Boom.
Yes.
Pinnacle. Got it. Push the button, like, okay, I got it. But like now that I have this, like, how can I make the biggest difference while I have this? Yeah. And then
I think the thing you said, that there's never been a homegrown UFC champion in Las Vegas. Like, I'm blown away when you brought that up. I've never thought about that.
I could probably do my research, but I don't
think there is.
Yeah.
Randy Couture's not from here. Josh Burnett's not from here. Cody Nola's not from here. TJ Dillashaw's not from here. Dominic Cruz isn't from here. Brandon Moreno's not from here. We can go down the list. Yeah. Michael Chandler's not from here. Conor McGregor's not from here. Nobody from here has ever been a champion from the home of the UFC in Las Vegas. Yeah. Like, that's huge.
And like I started.
You grew up down the street from this motherfucking house. I grew up down
the street from here, but also like I started MMA at 20 years old. Yeah. And like I'm 34. Yeah. So 14 years. Like it's kind of crazy.
It's fucking crazy. It's fucking crazy. And never doing a sport.
Never doing a sport. Yeah. Not even an athlete. Like, couldn't even run a mile. Yeah. And now
smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day.
Yeah. Now it's just like, it's completely different. Like I'm a whole different person. And I want that to really like change and help people.
Absolutely, man.
Because like, if I could do it, anybody can do it.
Absolutely.
Like, if I could do it at 20, like imagine the kid who's 13. Yep. He can be a champion by the time he's 20. If he wants to be.
If they want to, and as long as they stay healthy, their path is set on that. They have the great role models in their life to help them guide them to that way. Absolutely.
Yeah, dude.
Khalil, this is your opportunity to let people know where they can find you, social media, YouTube, whatever you got, baby.
Yeah. So at the moment, I only operate Instagram, but it's been cool. I've been meeting some people, so hopefully I'll have a YouTube channel pretty soon. Yep. Got some merch dropping
Hey.
in collaboration with Santo Studio.
Okay.
So that's going to be nice. That's coming out. But yeah, anything, just follow me on IG, shoot me messages there.
And what's your IG?
Khalil Rountree.
Okay.
Just exactly
Hey, you know,
my first last name.
Some people got some weird fucking names.
You
where
got a
it's
sick one. Yours is just Mighty. I think
Mighty,
that's
yeah.
sick. I don't really have a nickname. So yeah, we just run
I
it.
thought it was the War Horse. I thought it was the...
Back when I first started as an amateur,
Yeah.
it was like a name that my brother gave me, and we kind of ran with it. But
Yeah.
when I became professional, I was like, I don't know if I really.
want to be stuck to a name or not.
Yeah, I don't want to be stuck to a name.
Do your brother still train?
He does. Actually, he was inspired by me getting this fight, and so he hopped in sparring the other day and,
Oh, good.
and did really well.
Good. So you guys still train together every once in a while?
Sometimes. Well, my brother's actually
How big is he?
125. You guys are the same exact size.
Are you serious?
Yeah, he's 5 years older than me, but you guys are the same exact size. Yeah.
Somebody got fed really well growing up.
Really well.
That is crazy. So your older brother is smaller than you, and they're growing up in high school. You're probably bigger than him, right?
Yeah, when I hit my growth spurt, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you're like, this little motherfucker out there killing it, and you're just like, I'm all fucking big, and I'm not gonna do anything. I'm just gonna.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
He was like that big friendly giant. It was like how I felt in my household. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is amazing. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much, Khalil, coming on the MightyCast. Make sure you go give this man a follow on his Instagram. Support this man. Beautiful story. And make sure you tune into his fight at UFC 307 in Utah as he takes on Alex Pereira at UFC 307.
Oh, yeah.
Pereira, whatever it is. I appreciate you, man.
Yeah,
Coming on
thank
here.
you. Hell yeah.
What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Mighty Recap. And we just had Khalil Rountree on the MightyCast. And man, what an amazing story. I think the biggest thing sitting here talking to Khalil is just, one, his story. For him to be, Vegas, born, raised right down the street from my dad's house. And he went to high school here, middle school. And to hear how he had no encouragement to do any sport. Not even basketball, football, baseball, track, whatever. He was, a very, very shy kid. Obviously, the passing of his father at a very, very young age kind of shaped, his teenager years. And him falling in love with music, I obviously thought he did some type of sport, the way his body physique is now. But when we got off the podcast, we talked a little bit off camera with him and his amazing wife, Mia, and she showed me a picture of him. And I was like, what in the world? And to see his body transformation from stopping smoking 2 packs of cigarette a day to stop drinking soda, and just to change his lifestyle of going cold turkey, eating chicken, broccoli, rice, and just putting that time in of training. And to hear he got that sense of affirmation from people that he was around by doing mixed martial arts was amazing, because a lot of people who do mixed martial arts today, they're always looking for an end game. They're always looking at the end game. Like, oh, I want to train MMA so I can be a UFC fighter. Or I want to train MMA so I can be one championship fighter. Instead of having the mindset like, hey, you know what? I'm looking for an outlet. I work 9 to 5 every single day. I'd rather have something to do, an extracurricular activity, whether it might be, intramural football, club soccer, club baseball, going to the gym and lifting weights. And that was kind of the same story I had. And Khalil, we both worked full-time jobs, even though we were winning at the regional circuit, because as you guys know, when you become a professional athlete in mixed martial arts, you're not getting a 6-figure check. You're not getting football, baseball, basketball money. You're getting, $1,000 a win, or $2,525, $2,500 a show, $2,500 a win. That's $5,000. After you pay your taxes, you pay your coaches, you're lucky to walk away with, $3,000. If you are 25 years old and you live on your own, $2,500, $3,000 doesn't pay for shit. My health insurance alone is $1,500 a month for my family. And for him to recognize that at that age, and for him to work a full-time job while pursuing a career, not even a career, pursuing the extracurricular activities in mixed martial arts is amazing. Because like I said, I get all these comments. I always get this question is it ever too late to be a UFC fighter? And I said, well, I think you're looking at it the wrong way. You need to look at it as, is it too late for me to start training? Is it too late for me to start learning mixed martial arts? That is a mindset you should have. And that was, I felt, the mindset Khalil had when he looked for that outlet when he turned, when he came back home from being on tour with his buddies. Now, let's talk about his UFC career. Now, everybody has ups and downs in their UFC career. He started in Ultimate Fighter. He fought his buddy. He came up short, loses, the finals, but he still got a contract because he's very exciting. Has ups and downs in his career. Then when he goes to Thailand, because he went to Thailand just to figure out how to do Muay Thai by himself. He's never had an overhead coach like I've had with Matt Hume. You look at John Jones. He had, Jackson and Rico John. You look at fucking Jose Aldo. He had Andre Pederneiras. You just go down the list. You look at Justin Gaethje. You look at Max Holloway. All these guys have an overhead father figure, I guess you can say, as a coach, to where Khalil Rountree never had that. Now, he has Lorenzo, I think I'm saying it right, Lorenzo, excuse me. And he has his the head coach's syndicate that are kind of, not pulling, but guiding him to the victory to win a world title. But the gentleman's 34 years old, and ever since he came back from Thailand, that's when he started taking the fight game serious. Imagine if he would have taken the fight game serious when he was 22, right? I mean, the sky's the limit. I'm very excited for this fight against Alex Pereira. And I can't wait to see what he does. And him talking about he wants to be a light for people here in Las Vegas, because he grew up here. And after we got the podcast, we're talking about who else has been a champion homegrown from Las Vegas. We looked at it. Frank Mir was one of them. And I said, but your story's a little bit different. You grew up without a father. I don't know Frank Mir's story. I love Frank Mir, amazing athlete, but he's not active as today. And I think in today's market, in today's age of 2024, a lot of people are looking for hope, looking for inspiration. And I think Khalil is the perfect person who can be that shining light and armor here in Las Vegas. And for him to win a belt and bring the belt back home to Las Vegas, which is the home of the UFC, is something special to be said. Especially when I was sitting here, I was like, there's a lot of people who train in Las Vegas that moved here because of UFC PI, and it's the mecca for any athlete. But I think for him who grew up here right literally down the street, when he came over to my dad's house, he goes, oh man, I grew up right down the street. I ran these streets when I was a kid, went to middle school over here. I think that's something special. And I think him getting an opportunity to fight for the belt after a 5-fight win streak, 4 finishes, is very warranted. Right? As I sit here and we look at today's landscape of mixed martial arts, it's very rare that somebody gets a title shot off a 5-fight win streak. We go down the line. I can name it right now. You look at Izzy Adesanya. He got a title shot off a loss. You look at Steven Miocic. He's getting a title shot off a loss. You look at Alex Volkanovski. Granted, he was a champion, but he defended his belt against Ilia Topuria. So that's not necessarily the same case. You look at Max Holloway. He lost. I think he was on a 2-fight win streak. He's getting his opportunity to fight Ilia Topuria. The list just goes on. You look at Merab. This is the opposite side. Merab, he was on a 10-fight win streak, and he got his opportunity to fight against Sean O'Malley. I mean, I think him being on a 5-fight win streak and getting his opportunity to fight Alex Pereira is an amazing thing, especially hearing a story where he started and where he's come today. And I cannot wait to see how he does this Saturday at UFC 307. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this episode of the MightyCast, please do yourself a favor. Hit the bell, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below, and let me know what you guys thought of this episode. Because like I said before, one, I didn't think he was American. I thought he had an accent because he has a very soft-spoken. He's very kind, very passive, as I am myself. And for him to not do a sport, I could have fucking swore that man played football. growing up, or basketball or something, because he's super athletic. You watch his fights, he's very exciting. He's got a lot of knockout power. But man, what an amazing character, what an amazing soul. And I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I hope you follow him and his journey. Support him on his Instagram. Hopefully he get a YouTube channel going soon, and hopefully he can bring some of that love of his passion of music back into his life, because I think a lot of people would enjoy that side of him. Because for me, I was always focused on fighting, and then until I opened up the doors to my life for the YouTube channel and streaming on Twitch, I felt like I gained a lot more followers and fans that way, because I'm just like you guys, right? I was that guy who worked 9 to 5, working in construction, just like Khalil did. And I was fighting for fun, and then I make my money and I go back to work. And that was my outlet, was fighting. I was caught up in a rat race, and I was able to make enough money that I didn't have to do the rat race anymore. And so I think that story and sharing it with you guys, kind of, we can relate to each other in some way or whatnot. So once again, thank you guys so much for enjoying this podcast and the Mighty Recap. Obviously, my co-host Michael Wanderlei isn't here right now. He's in Arizona at the time of filming this, and he's doing some stuff in Arizona. But your boy is here, and I filmed it for you guys. So we'll see you, beautiful people, at the next episode of the MightyCast.